Hi.
Hello.
Creepy Kentucky.
Uncle Bill.
DEADPIT Reviews. We're continuing on with a true genre classic. If you ever want to see me jack a film off, watch this review, because this is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is a out-of-print Blu-ray version from Dark Sky Films. I think New Line was supposed to release a 40th anniversary edition, but the 40th anniversary is not until next year, so maybe we'll see it next year.
So, I don't even know anymore, like, what could be said about this movie that hasn't already been said about this movie, but I'm going to try to actually do this movie justice, because it is an American classic. Probably,
no doubt.
Probably the American classic of horror films. Think about it. So,
has the movie been ripped off more than Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
No. I think Rob Zombie's whole goddamn career is based on that one movie, to be honest.
You know, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of those movies that's not really gory, not really even that violent in what you see on camera, but the first time you watch it, it'll scare the fuck out of you. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I don't really remember the experience of me watching the movie because I was so young. I was probably like 7, 8 years old. But we had rented this movie and the sequel, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I think it was right after that came out on video. And my dad would not watch the sequel. It fucked him up. But yeah, I mean, it's the whole story about how this movie was made and everything involved, and like, people just want to know everything about this movie. And it is truly an iconic film. I mean, this is one of the best made, well performed. I mean, just everything, like great performances, great writing.
I've tried to figure out, really I have, over the years, like, what is it about this particular movie that made it like so realistic and so rewatchable, like so much like a moment in time where like just a bunch of stuff was captured that was perfect, like in a moment in time.
I think a lot of it is, the best way I can explain it is, a lot of this stuff, the filming of this was almost like it was like a war, from what I understand. I mean, the temperature in South Texas in the summer was over 100 degrees, and they filmed a lot of this like in a basement somewhere, like I think the dinner sequence, and it was around 115 degrees in there, I'd heard, you know, because they put stuff up. They had bright lights on them. They covered up the windows. You know, I think a lot of it had to do with it was an independent film. They were not pampered in any way, these people, and they probably hated the experience. Like, we haven't talked to a whole lot of, we talked to Gunnar Hansen in a long lost interview we did years ago, which we'll probably never ever see. But I think it was like a war, and that's probably why this movie, you know, and also they didn't really hire known actors. It was local, probably theater actors.
Well, that's another thing about it. Like, if you watch this movie, and it is a simple movie on the outside. Like, it's just the story of a group of friends that take a cross-country trip and wind up, like, in a house they don't know, that's basically a bunch of crazy fuckers, and one of them's a cannibal. Well, they're all cannibals, I guess, but one of them dresses in human skin and stuff. That's the story. Really. That's the only part of the story. But it's like, nothing about this movie seems fake.
Right.
Like, nothing about, like, it doesn't seem like they're acting. I don't know how that happened.
Well, I think,
but it doesn't seem like they're even actors.
Yeah,
it seems like it's real.
The characters in the movie too, just they're so well defined. Like, you know, you got the dad, who is not really a threatening character at all, Jim Seadow or whatever. But if you look closer and watch some of the stuff that he does, you know, like when he's got Marilyn Burns in his truck and he's fucking poking her, you know, and laughing and shit. That is scary. How real that seems, you know. There's so many scenes in the movie too. Ed Neal's character in the movie, when you see him, I remember the first time I saw the film, or one of the early times I saw it, I was like, there's no way this guy's an actor. You know, they found some crazy motherfucker.
Yeah, well, that's what you think about the whole thing, really.
Yeah. And you know, you can go on and on and on about just so many aspects of the film.
Yeah, it's one of the only horror films, and I think it was because like if you read anything about Tobe Hooper prior to this film, he was like an avant-garde filmmaker. Like he was a psychedelic kind of fucked up filmmaker who tried to make a horror film. But this movie took so many chances that like no other film before this had taken. Like no other film really tried anything like what was going on in this movie. So what ended up happening was you got a guy that's really like unhinged, a director that's unhinged, taking a bunch of chances with a movie with a bunch of film students and things like that, just local kind of actors. And then you got people ripping that off like a million.
Hundreds and hundreds of times over the years.
So they're not taking any chances. And Rob Zombie really wasn't taking any chances with any of those films. He was just ripping off the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like that's basically what House of a Thousand Corpses is.
It was an homage.
Yeah, I guess. So.
I think House of a Thousand Corpses is more of an homage to the second movie.
It was. I mean, I guess through that it was an homage to the first one. But yeah, but all the people that came after this movie that ripped it off, it's like a watered down version. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to capture that feeling, but you really can't capture a film like that.
Right.
Like you just can't.
Yeah, I mean people have tried for years and years, and you know, Michael Bay tried and he failed fucking miserably.
I don't know anybody though. No, not even Carpenter or Craven or Barker, any of the guys that were like really that ever even came close to making a film that was this.
That's film for you though, man. I mean, regardless if you're making fucking Frankenstein's Bloody Nightmare or if you're making Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you've got that moment to make what you've got to make. And nobody's ever been able to come close to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Nobody's ever been able to come close to Halloween. Nobody's ever been able to come close to the original Star Wars. That's film, but I totally agree with you. You know, decades and decades people have been trying, but you can't. Come up with your own story. Leave the Grindhouse. The Grindhouse stuff is done.
Yeah,
that shit.
Well,
that was like, in the 70s and 80s.
You watch a series like Saw. Anybody that's seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre and you go back and watch something like Saw, you're like, they're totally fucking ripping off the look of Texas Chainsaw. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to like artificially recreate the look of that movie. They're still doing that to this day. Like if you turn on Netflix, I'll bet you there's fucking 20 movies that are like or try to look exactly the same as this movie. No, it's not going to happen. Like it wasn't even meant to be this way. They just like it's just a series of weird accidents that this movie got made. So,
but yeah, I love this movie. I think a lot of people watching this probably are just watching this because they love the film too. And I don't know if we've ever done a video. I'm pretty sure we've never done a video review for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But with all the stuff with Texas Chainsaw that's been out, you know, the new Texas Chainsaw, which is fine. I mean, I'm totally fine with how they made that movie. This is the only Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, though. And I think you agree with me.
Well, yeah, because like you said, like, and I think we would both agree on this, you can't duplicate that movie. Like, you can't make another Godfather film.
Right.
You can't make a remake of Godfather or even make a movie close to it. Like, you can't make another...
Rambo. Rocky.
Any of those movies, yeah.
I thought about Rocky when I said Rambo. Isn't that weird?
That is odd, yeah. But...
you can only make one Rambo, too, though. Rambo's classic.
It's not going to happen. So, yeah, that's
so anyway, if you can get a hold of this Blu-ray right here, this is an amazing Blu-ray that Dark Sky Films did. Don May Jr. did the restoration on it. It's freaking amazing. And we'll see you guys next time. Dead Pit.